You're on.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the planning board meeting for October 21st, and we're here for a public hearing for Ray Marshall, who wants to have a campsite down on what we know as the Tiedemann Farm on Secaucus. So Ray, if you'd like to get up and...
Good evening, everyone.
Is it, yeah, you got to speak into it.
You're going to have to be very close to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Everybody needs to hear you.
Okay.
I don't think it's working very
I don't think it's
well. No,
I can hear you.
Should I speak up louder? Or?
Yes.
Okay. So tonight we're here for the public hearing, right?
Yep.
And I've got the latest version of the campground in hand here, representing the trails, the tent sites, the septic, the parking, the road cut in from 11 on the left-hand boundary line. And I also have with me tonight Jim Seymour from Sebago Technics, who can better get in the weeds of any specific.
You have someone from Sebago here tonight?
Yes,
Oh,
Jim.
hi. Hi,
Who can
great.
better explain
Yes, that's
details.
probably,
Yep.
that's probably. May I ask, how does it differ from what you gave us the last time, that plan? It doesn't? Okay, all right, okay. So what I'm going to do then is, whichever one of you wants to answer the question should be at the mic, because I'm going to open it up to the public for questions.
Jim is a lot more qualified than I am.
Okay, all righty, whatever. So this is the public hearing, so anyone who has any questions, just please come to the mic, state your name and your street address. If you have a question, would you want to go to the mic so we can all hear what your questions are? Oh, I'm sorry, okay. I see people here. Does anyone have any questions or concerns they want to express? It's pretty simple, just get, you can, we're pretty easygoing here, we're pretty laid back. If the gentleman from Sebago Technics wants to get up to the mic and turn so the public can see it, and, oh, Jake, you do have a question.
Jason Smith, Morgan Lane. I was watching, I think it was last week or the last
2 weeks
week.
ago, yeah. Mhm.
And there was discussion about like tent sites versus tiny home sites.
Tonight, it's just tents. Tiny homes are not at all involved in this discussion tonight.
But are all the sites on them?
No, he intends, yeah. Yes, please.
So what is going on here is Ray is I'm sure the board is aware of, is going to move forward with the tiny trailer, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's an entirely different issue that will need to come back.
Yep, in the future.
Yes.
So tonight, what we've shown is those same sites, but they're just going to be used for tent sites for now. We're currently working on permits with the state to put more permanent roads and make this more accessible. As that stands right now, the only road we're putting in is the one that runs parallel to I believe, the northern property line. It's in about 678 feet or something like that. That'll be a full access road, 22 feet wide, gravel, with a hammerhead at the end. The plan is that there'll be a community shower house, bathroom house that will also be located at the end of that. Then the program will be, everybody can go and utilize that for their shower, their bathroom facilities from the tent sites. That water will be pumped up to a septic system located closer to Route 11. And right now, we estimate that'll be under an engineered system, approximately 1,620 gallons per day, which is about 60 gallons per tent site. As far as stormwater goes, this particular phase does not require a state permit from DEP. However, the next phase that Ray has in mind will, and we're currently working with our development staff to come up with that design for the stormwater pond when we get to that next piece.
you're aware that there's a possibility that could mean a subdivision.
I understand.
Okay.
Because I understand that those may be full seasonal uses, and that could trigger a subdivision.
Well, I think that according to MMA, there's a lot of the particulars, I think was the way they addressed it, of how that comes in, whether or not it would be.
Right, and I understand if it's 2 season, 3 season, one set of rules, once you go 4
Well,
seasons.
the planning board is only going to deal with the tents tonight, but I just
I
say that
yep.
to you so you know that we're thinking about it.
Yeah, I understand there's a lot more
Okay.
complications when
Yeah,
we go to the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So,
So hearing that, does anyone have any questions or concerns they want to express? There was, did you find where that was? No. Okay. In the ordinance on page 149, in the shoreland zone area, it says tent sites and sites for recreational vehicles shall be laid out.
5,000, but I have to ask the board, we're not in the shoreline zone, we're outside the shoreline zone.
Okay, that's true, you're not in the floodplain, as I
Correct.
recall.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so in non-shoreland zone then, have you seen page 149?
I have, and we did put a plan on, we did calculate the density that would be allowed
you
on the
did?
property.
Okay.
We're way below what is allowed.
Okay, that was one of the things, because
think
under
there's a-
campgrounds on page 84, it says campground shall conform to the minimum requirements imposed under state licensing procedures in the following. Campground shall contain a minimum of 5,000 square feet of land, not including roads and driveways, and I'm assuming you're, okay, over that, okay. All right, and then once again on page 149, in non-shoreland tent sites, 14 per acre, so I assume you've done those calculations and.
Yes, we have, and excuse me, just a second, I can give you the actual number that we computed that we went to. So there's 7.69 acres of developable land, if you exclude the wetlands and floodplain. And that leaves you 14 tent sites per acre. That would mean there could be the capacity, which we're not even close to, 107 tents.
Okay, yep. That's what I wasn't sure of. They're all, just for public information, the site does not fall in the floodplain. If you were aware of where the Tiedemann land is, down in Secaucus, it's the piece of land that's behind Mr. Chick's house, is it? Or, yeah, that's being developed. There's another piece that has the beachfront. And I'm not sure if you own that or not, Ray.
I just closed on it today.
Okay, so he does own that, but that's not where the tent site is going to be. It's going to be on the land that's behind Mr. Tiedemann's barn, out in that area. So he will have some access to the water with this, but future development, and I'm assuming there could be paths that go to the beach, I don't know.
That's the whole idea,
Yeah,
is that the users at the
Yeah,
campsite
yeah.
will be able to have access to.
yeah, okay. But no physical tents will be on that site behind Mr. Chick's house.
Nothing's in place or shown there probably.
Okay,
So if you're looking at this plan, Mr. Crocus, Route 11, this is Saco River here, this line right here, and I'll put the board as well, this line.
yeah,
right
we know,
here-
we've got a map here. You can show them, it's best they see it.
Yep, this line right here represents the 100-year flood. So as you can see, everything is between the 100-year flood.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions or any questions, so we'll, yes, ma'am, go ahead. If you could go to the mic, please, and state your name and your street. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Claudette Corrado. I live on Evergreen Circle.
I didn't
And-
catch the name.
Claudette
Claudette,
Croteau, Croteau.
thank you.
Thank you. I have no idea what this is about. I understand you want to put a campground, I guess? So
Yes.
could you give us an explanation of what your plan is? That would be great, thank you.
Okay, so back in March of 2000.
You're going to have to speak into the mic, because not only are we playing to this audience, we're playing to the television audience as
Okay.
well.
So in March of 2021, I bought the Teeterman Farm, not knowing exactly what I was going to do with it, but I loved the property. And so I kept hearing this thing from neighbors and people around when I was visiting, spending time. I would hear them say, you know, the funny thing about Maine is there's thousands of campsites, but there's never anything available. It didn't really mean anything to me because I had the 46 acres to camp on whenever I wanted to, and I have other property nearby. And so all of a sudden, I'm sitting there one day on my deck, and all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. Wait a minute, they have thousands of campsites, and there's nothing, you know, there's never anything available. So it finally registered in my thick skull, and I thought to myself, maybe the town of Limington would be, you know, liking the idea of a campground. So I came in here and I presented my idea, and I was basically told to move forward and see what happens, and that's what's handed. So then I started looking around for an engineering firm so that I didn't go at it kind of haphazard. So I hired Sebago Technics, and that's where Jim Seymour represents, the engineering company. And the more we got involved with the property, and as things progressed and evolved, especially with the acquisition next door with 2,600 feet of beach frontage, it started evolving into something that I thought could be very special. For the town of approximately 4,000 citizens, I thought it could turn out to be something huge for putting people to work that want to work, and producing, you know, activity in the town, and all things positive in my mind, unless somebody has something different to throw at me, which I'm totally here to answer, and anybody's concerns. I just thought it could be a real positive to the community. Tiny homes is something I'm in love with, but there's steps to get to the tiny home idea. So right now, we're going for tents, and in a few months, I could find myself right back here trying to get more permanent venues in the tiny home structures.
Each one of these squares, or rectangles that you see.
If you could talk into the mic, please, Jim. I know it's a pain, but
Each one of these rectangles that you see on this plan represents a tent site. These circles are also tent sites, more likely to be like geodesic domes, correct? There's 27 here shown on this plan, with the property being able to technically host 144. Obviously, we're well below what the max is. But in the event that Ray does come back in the future for an RV or a tiny home type park, there are other state requirements. This is why they're spaced out so much right now. We're anticipating that next piece, but also I think with this layout, even with tents, it just allows some privacy, not on top of each other. There's pretty good spacing between all that. As I mentioned, down here would be the community bathroom facilities. That would pump up this orange area. That would be a septic system. These blue lines represent potential future stormwater ponds to treat the road section that comes down through here. Anticipated flow would be through the driveway that exists right here. There's a parking lot for 39 to 40 cars. They would come in, get dropped off, they'd be able to go to their tent sites, and then they'd be able to access out the new driveway. So that's kind of the gist. We really don't have, you're not planning any lights or anything like that, correct? Maybe one on the bathroom facility, but.
The bathroom facility would definitely have lights, and I would have, I've already thought this out. Anywhere there's a trail, I feel like there should be solar lights. Anywhere there's a venue, there should be solar lights. I'm totally into green. I want to try to explore. I want to try to explore as many green products with this idea as possible. Both ground cover, lighting, everything eco-friendly is what I'm all about. And I'm on the edge of educating myself about this stuff. And it's exciting. I love the idea of being environmentally friendly as much as possible.
can I just ask a question? What's the difference between a yurt and a what did you call the dome?
Geodesic
dome.
domes are something I fell in love with a while back. I just
Are they
seen-
like a tent? What are they made out of?
They are. They're canvas. Yurts geodesic domes and tents are all what I call soft sites. I call them soft sites because they're a canvas material and it is not a wooden frame structure or metal structure. So I call yurts, tents, geodesic domes soft sites, and then the tiny homes I call hard sites.
Would any of these domes or yurts or tents have kitchen or bathroom facilities inside them?
That's a good question. That's something that's evolving. The potential is yes.
That puts an entirely different light on how this can be done.
Okay.
If you read the state law, having bathroom facilities and kitchens are two things that come immediately to mind. Inside of the unit, it puts it in a different category than a tent.
Okay,
or
then
unit.
what I'd like to say right now is flatly no. The answer to that question is no. There will be no kitchens and no bathrooms at any of the soft sites, any of the designated tent site areas on the plan now. Just to keep it very simple, and if I ever need to revisit anything moving forward, I know that I need to come back here for
Right.
permission first. So the answer is flatly no.
Yep. Bob has a question.
Not so much a question, but for the folks that are here and folks that may be watching, correct me if I say anything that's not accurate,
Okay?
but
Is your mic on?
I believe
Oh, so please.
yes.
I thought I turned my volume off. Hold on. I thought I turned my volume and everything off. Sorry about that.
A couple of weeks ago, when we heard of this project, it kind of threw me a little bit because I'm a camper, and when you talk about a tent site, you're talking about a bare ground where I bring my tent and set it up. And I just want to make sure that the folks know that what they're really talking about are, I'll call them semi-permanent structures, where you don't bring your own RV and you don't bring your own tent.
Nope.
You rent a yurt or a
Right.
TP or a geodesic dome or that type of thing. Just so you understand, this differs quite a bit from your traditional main campground. But that's really the only point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I'll expand on that a little bit. The idea here is you pull up in your car, you take your duffel bag, you get in your golf cart, and you go to your venue. Spend all your time vacationing. If you want to go see things in town, you want to go to the different lakes, want to go to whatever you want to do. You don't have to take, especially if it's drizzling out or if it's raining or if it's bad weather, you're pulling up, you're grabbing your duffel bag, and you're either deciding to walk through the trail or ride the golf cart, go to your venue, and start your experience.
And this is seasonal.
This is seasonal.
This
Yo,
first phase is
Absolutely.
seasonal.
Completely seasonal. Tent sites only. That's it. No kitchens, no bathrooms.
Darrell?
I'd just like to get this straight. You're gonna have, these are gonna be paths down through that you're gonna run golf carts through
Yes.
on grass. I mean, you're not gonna do anything to these besides they're gonna be paths.
I
You're not gonna
like,
put gravel down or anything like that.
I like the idea of wood chips. They're super friendly. They're user friendly. They're soft on the feet. That's what my thought was. Environmentally friendly. I'm looking into a material that actually helps keep ticks down. It's a cedar type of mulch. That's what I envisioned, Daryl.
That might work if you took the loom up, but anything that's, when it rains and you got golf carts going over that, it's gonna turn all the mud.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
It'll turn to mud.
If it
The-
rains, he
the-
said, on the paths.
The wood chips.
Well, if you
I don't
don't
believe-
if you remove the loom, it probably would be all right, but anything will work down through loom.
Okay, all right. I guess it's something I would have to learn how to address it for my taste. Right now, I pictured a raised wood mulch bed to ride on. Obviously, it's going to get compacted, but the ground there, in my opinion, is very firm. Like whenever I go through the property right now on what the old wagon trail is, it's very hard, like very hard.
So you plan to just put these paths on top of the grass? Is that what-
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I envisioned. If something's not working, and I'm sure with anything that you're doing for the first time, there's going to be an evolution involved, where you think you can put down wood chips and you think you can put a thick enough pad and everything like that, and then all of a sudden you know people are using it and it's gonna have an effect, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But right now, that's the idea, yes, for the trails.
I have a question about disposal.
Just a minute, sir. And now-
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Victoria.
What were you providing containers for disposal of campers?
Yeah, every
Waste.
tent site would have a fire pit, some sort of cooker. I'm probably gonna give them a gas cooker because again, if the weather's not great, you're out there wrestling with charcoal, it doesn't make sense. So a fire pit, a cooker, and a waste disposal. Of course, I don't want to see any garbage anywhere for any reason whatsoever.
Okay.
And that's all something that's going to have to evolve. What I mean is, will each site have one? For sure. But are people going to be going down to the beach? And should there be things in intervals between there and the beach? It's all things that I'm going to have to get on top of and I'm going to have to learn. But I will tell you something. I'm extremely aggressive when it comes to details, and I'm extremely proactive. I was a landlord for 35 years, and so always trying to stay ahead of what the people are going to do next was my job. And most Thursdays, I spent a few hours every evening taking out everybody's garbage for them because for some reason, people have this romanticism with wanting to save their garbage. So I would go back into the city after my workday, and I would take out everybody's garbage, make sure that the cans were empty and people weren't going to be saving it on the back porch. So I do what it takes, trust me. There will be no complaints from anyone. I give you my word on that.
Well, the reason I ask is a lot of camping places, you carry in, carry out yourself, so I didn't know what you had planned.
I want to tell you something quickly. This is so funny. We're having this conversation. I just met my oldest son and his daughter, my granddaughter Chloe, at a park Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. He's teaching her. She's 4 years old. Since they've been little kids, my kids, I've got 5. Wherever we went, recreationally, anywhere we went, we always brought a contractor garbage bag. We always left the place cleaner than we found it. It didn't matter if we went to Thompson's Lake. It didn't matter if we went to Lawson's Lake. It didn't matter if we went to a park. We always took out, it's disgusting, people throwing straws and cigarettes and cans. And so I'm a big proponent. I'm a huge advocate of keeping things pristine. Some might say over the top. Okay?
Okay.
So
thank you.
that was just such a cute little thing that you're bringing that up
Another
because
question.
he's already teaching his kids.
This gentleman out here, Darrell, and then you.
Well, my question is, where are all the golf carts going to be kept?
Near the parking, it only makes sense that if you're parking your vehicle, you don't have to walk across the property to grab the golf cart. And so that would be, it just common sense, relatively close to where the parking would be.
But you
You know, I
have,
find it hard to put all this together with,
Okay, here.
this might be where it's going to
Let me,
be,
if
or where
I
it's,
give you this bigger one, maybe you can.
you're going to do a plot plan anyway when this is out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I heard you mention, I heard you make reference to the plot plan earlier. And I look at this kind of like it's a plot plan, but if somebody needs something more, all they have to do is ask and I'll get right on it.
Well, you'd have to have it for the state anyway, an engineered plot plan for the state.
Yep. I'm sure.
the gentleman in the front row, if you'd like to come to the mic, please.
Thank you. I'm Ross Bartlett. I live on Secocas Avenue, right next to Darrell Hubbard, Darrell and Diane Hubbard. And Ray has answered some of my questions already. I wasn't aware that he was purchasing Chick property, because one of my concerns was that the neighbors to your development, and we'll call it that, right, a tenting development, have the right to have a peaceful and quiet existence.
Sure.
So, and that brings up some questions for us about what that is gonna look like.
Okay.
And I know that it sounds like you're, you know, I know, I don't wanna rain on your parade, Ray. I know
No,
this is a
please.
big deal for you.
This is why we're here.
And,
I will have to address
but the
one thing.
plain,
Yeah,
the
wait till
plain
he's done.
honest truth of the matter is
Yeah.
that this is a huge change for this town.
Okay.
This is a huge change for this town.
Okay.
It's a quiet, peaceful town. And
Depends upon where you
many
live.
of us really like that about it. You know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the river has not really been exploited as a tourist destination here in Limington. And we're a little sorry to see that happen, you know? And once again, I know this is a dream come true for you, I'm sure.
Well, I was hoping it could be a dream come true for everyone. It's
Well,
not- it's not
the
responsible.
jury's still out on that, so
Okay.
we shall see. But that was one of my questions, what that, how is it that the neighbors to your development will be shielded from intrusions in their life in the form of, this gentleman said
That-
you weren't going to have much.
I don't know how anyone can guarantee that, really.
know, it
If
can't
it's,
really be
if it's
guaranteed.
an allowed use in
But
the
we can try- What
area.
I'm trying, what we'd
Yeah.
like to do, Joyce, is get a sense of how we can move in that, how,
Hmm.
because it feels a little short on specifics on some of this stuff. And as Ray was saying, he's working it out.
I'd love to address it.
Let me throw a couple more at you.
Okay.
Up here.
Can I do one at a time?
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Yeah, we'll come back, because I do have.
No, that's okay. First of all, if I'm not mistaken, the ordinance states that the campsites, tent sites, whatever the sites are, cannot be seen from the road. If that is the case, which I believe it to be, that minimizes a lot of exposure, in my opinion, unless somebody says something different. I'm here to answer that too. That minimizes a lot of exposure, and when I hear the word lights, I picture parking lot lights, where you see this 30-foot tall, no, there isn't gonna be anything like that. I have a neighbor to the left of me, his name is Roy, super great, unbelievable human being. I discuss things kind of step by step with him. Anything he's shown any negativity towards, I've completely poo-pooed. Just erase it from the topic of conversation. The reason I really felt compelled to purchase the Chick Farm was because of the very same reason, Ross, that you're bringing up. And that is, if somebody bought the Chick Farm, say they hypothetically wanted to put a daycare in there, and all of a sudden there's golf carts, cruising down to the river. Well, wait a minute, I've got kids out in the yard playing. So in order to prevent that from being a real possibility, I purchased the farm, not only for the beach frontage. The beach frontage was closed on today. The piece on the end involving the mobile home and an additional 4 or 5 plus or minus acres. The whole reason I'm purchasing that I don't need it all, is because of exactly what you brought up, which is if somebody turns out to fall in being a neighbor, buys the mobile home, and all of a sudden finds out, wait a minute, I didn't know I was signing up for this. That's a position or a situation that nobody would want to be in, including myself. So the fact that Roy is on my left and I am essentially on my right, and then there's a huge parcel of wetlands and woods way before the next person, I felt like I was going above and beyond to address any potential conflict. You're next.
I'm satisfied with that. I know Roy, he's a good fellow.
Oh, he's the best.
And I'm a little surprised he's not here this evening. But
Well,
apparently he told
You
us-
need to talk into the mic, gentlemen,
Oh,
because
I'm sorry. I'm sorry
our
about that.
secretary
We were
can't
just-
hear. And
Another question that I have, once again, so it's sort of along the same line, Ray. Well, let me ask you a question first, though, if I may. Just having a look at the deeds and the surveys and all that kind of stuff. Are you NBD Solar?
No, please don't tag that on me.
Okay.
No, that's an
that's
eyesore
across the street,
that I'm
right?
stuck with.
That's across the street.
And I understand your concern, trust me.
Because I'm not finding your name
Yeah.
here on the
Oh, that's
deeds.
because I'm always trying to hide.
Oh.
The solar farm,
For example, the deed from the Tiedemann Family Trust.
Okay, that's in my daughter's name.
Okay, all
I
right.
build in this business.
Okay,
for my
no,
daughter.
sure, it's just that, I'm kind of trying to get a sense of ownership
Yeah,
here.
no
You
problem.
know, and
And
who we're actually gonna be dealing
Okay,
with.
it's gonna be me.
Okay,
And the middle.
speaking of the mic,
The middle piece with the barn and the 27 acres, 27 plus or minus acres with the 2,600 feet of river frontage just got closed on today. So that won't be made public record for probably, I'm gonna guess, somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. Right. The gentleman explained to me today that it was gonna be e-filed and it'd take at least a couple weeks. And I said, okay. He said you'll get mailed a copy. I'm probably gonna supply a copy as soon as I get it.
sure.
So that when
sure.
people do have questions, they,
Yeah, yeah. So have you purchased the farm, the Tiedemann farm from NBD Solar? Because the deed is in their name.
So back in March of 2021, when I purchased the farm, I don't recall what the name was on the paperwork. I honestly don't. It very likely is because they bought the Teeterman farm, and then he sold off Teeterman farm and kept the area across the street for the solar field. But until you said that, it didn't strike a bell with me.
Right.
But you're probably.
Yeah, because the only name I'm finding on here is NDB Solar Maine LLC, you know, so it's a limited liability.
They're on the
corporation.
opposite side of Route 11.
I see. So you're the exclusive owner then, or you and your family are the exclusive owners of what was the Tiedemann Farm and what will now be the Chick Farm?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
already. Just wasn't able to find
No,
that, you know, going through the registry, having a look.
Yeah.
So the other concern that I have is,
I want to
Where-
a little bit. If I can.
oh, sure, please, yeah, no, go ahead.
So I've noticed each time I drive by the solar farm that some of the trees are dying off, some of the pine trees. I plan on approaching the gentleman that Ross just brought up, finding him. I have a pretty good idea I can find him. And I want to ask him if I can replace the ones that are dying and if I can even add some things in between, because the idea of people coming to a campground and then just being blinded or whatever by this albatross across the street is something that I'm going to try very hard to help landscape, whatever it takes.
Well, those trees will eventually grow pretty
no,
significantly.
I understand, but there's been some that are dying off. I
Right, I've
think he may
noticed
have
that.
spaced them a little
Yes.
bit too wide in areas. And I'm just going to ask him, would you mind if I got some different things and see if we can work together as neighbors? I got a pretty good feeling about it, even though I've never met the gentleman. I normally always do everything I can do to put my best foot forward and normally get good results. So,
Daryl, you had a question?
You know,
Oh,
personally, I think, not personally, as a planning board member, you need to have a much more better laid out than this. I mean, we need to know where the parking is, you're gonna have the carts. Those chips aren't gonna work in that pathway.
okay.
I mean, you need to have gravel down there.
Okay.
I think everybody here that's worried about that this is gonna turn into some sort of ugly mess if it's not done right when you start. And I don't think it's a project you can say, well, we think the carts are gonna go here, and maybe we'll do this, and if the chips don't work,
Okay.
I mean, it needs to
Okay.
be
So.
much more, better thought out than that.
Okay, so I want to be very specific. Right here on the lower left-hand corner of Route 11, there's parking here for, I think, 39, 40 vehicles. Right here, do you see this, Daryl?
yes.
Daryl?
Yeah.
Okay, right here. And when I say, excuse me, when I say.
Does that say parking area?
Well,
it
it's
says-
obviously
it
got
says
parking
30
slots in
39
it.
parking spaces.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware of this, yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you were saying, okay, I'm sorry. I might have misunderstood. I thought you were saying that you couldn't really see where the parking was.
I can't see where the carts are gonna go.
Okay, so just to the right-hand side, and I can ask Jim to put something more official in for that. Just to the right-hand side, you have structures, buildings representing barns and
Yeah.
outbuildings and farmhouse. That's all eventually going to come down. So it's hard to tell somebody specifically where the golf carts are going. Well, they're going to be where the laundry room is right now in the farmhouse. You know, when the farmhouse comes down, it's going to open up quite a bit of area to the right-hand side of the already existing parking on the plan. And what I'm surmising is where you see the parking, right here where it says 39 parking spaces, the golf carts are going to be very close by in respect to that area. Can I tell you it's going to be in the 3-bay hay barn right now that's this back rectangle right here? Or is it going to be a little bit forward of that? That the ground is going to dictate that when those structures come down. So it's a little bit, it's evolving. That's the fairest thing that I can say to you. When I say they're going to be close by, you see the structures right here, there's existing structures here
Right.
that have to come down. When those existing structures come down, there's foundation to the barn, there's foundation to the farmhouse, et cetera, but the golf carts are going to be to the right-hand side of the parking so that when you exit your vehicle, the golf carts are very accessible. And that's going to remain that situation. And if anything were to ever change for one reason or another, I'd be back here in front of the town explaining that, hey, we decided we're going to have to put the golf carts here because of X, Y, Z, and I'd come back for further review.
I don't think that really answered my question, but,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you can't build this hypothetically. I mean, if you want to get a permit to do this, you're gonna have to put something down here that's written in stone, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a project where you can say, well, I'm gonna have 20 tents and I may decide to put a road here or a road there or a parking over here. You've gotta have a plan that shows exactly what you're gonna do.
Yeah,
Okay,
This isn't really a plot plan.
No,
Did you-
it's not.
Did you, Jim, plan to develop a plot plan?
Yes, as I
It's hard for us to take a vote tonight if we have these.
Because we're in two different worlds here.
Mm.
I'm looking to do something bigger in the future, and that's what we've been working on, and in the interim, he's come up with the tent.
Right, but in order for something to.
But we do have
yeah.
design plans for the larger project with roads and everything else. However, in the interim, he just wants to do the tent sites for next year, so we're kind of taking a step backwards. We can produce those plans, and I can give them more detail. However, we were kind of focused on the bigger layout, I guess I'll call it, for all intents and purposes.
You were focusing on when he wants to switch over to a different structure.
Correct.
Yeah, but,
But you need to show a berm or something along this road too. You're gonna put a berm there to protect, so it can't be seen from the neighbors?
Well, I think there's a substantial drop in elevation.
There is?
There is, yeah. It drops about 8 to 10 feet at least down through those fields, maybe more.
So is that what you're gonna show? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
looking
and I
for a
think-
print
I
that
think-
shows exactly what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to your point, and maybe to ask some of the neighbors, is even on that access road going down to, on the side there, we should plant some pines or something like that to further screen and buffer some noise along that edge as well. And if we have to, we can put a little landscaping up on the Route 11 Secocas Ave side to kind of help with that. There are some big old trees there still that Ray loves, but maybe a little bit something in between just to kind of break it up might help. Because I'm not aware, tonight's the first time, sorry Ray, that I've heard about the golf carts, so obviously we can set a pad. To your point, we can show a location where those golf carts could be stored. I don't know the number, I don't know if it's, one for every tent site, everybody's sharing. I don't know if each tent site has a golf cart. We can get those numbers, we can show a location for that as well.
Well, Ray, will those be electric or gas?
Electric.
Okay, so there'll be a charging facility up there somewhere.
Probably on the barn, on the other barn.
And you'll have the appropriate measurements and everything on it too, right?
Yeah, that plan that you have, it has the correct dimensions. We just, again, we're in the process of, looking forward, unfortunately. So we can dimension that up, we can show you the dimensions of the parking spaces, we can give you the dimensions for the golf cart storage pad, where they'll be stored or parked. All those dimensions are there, we just haven't labeled them all.
From the people I talk to in town that have heard about this, most of them are afraid that this is gonna be done sort of any way I wanna do it, and I don't think that's gonna work. I mean,
Well, that's why those sites are there. Those sites are specific, and they have a specific intention
if
for their
you
layout.
have if you have the big plan, which you gave us last time you were here, you can see that each tent site, I assume, you can see it on the little plan too. I assume the line around it indicates that's the required feet for
That's the
the
dedicated
individual
space
tents.
for each
Yeah.
campsite, yes.
should have measurements in there to show
Yeah.
it too.
Well, the thing is, it's not specifically a lot, but I understand.
I know, that's what I mean. That's why it's really not workable.
Well,
I don't see how you could even vote on this, but can't vote on hypothetical stuff. I might have the parking lot here, or might be
Well,
over
the parking
there.
lot is where it's gonna be.
Well, I don't mean the park, I mean for the car, for
Oh,
the,
yeah, no, I totally.
in this parking lot is the
But this
scale.
is a campground, and each tent isn't going to have its own separate lot. The lot is the outer, the whole picture. I mean, when you're doing, maybe when the next phase, it might be a different story. But at this point, in my way of thinking, with a campsite, they don't have individual lots. You're not selling a lot to somebody. You're renting a space
Correct.
that meets the requirements of the ordinance with a tent on it.
Correct.
So you don't need to have a specific, like with a house lot, you have to have specific space between it, certain amount of
And
feet,
again,
et cetera, et
that's why
cetera.
we planned them the way we have to space them out so that those
But
tent sites
in our
are-
book, it says they have a specific size.
It says they have to have 14, what is it? It can be only so many,
14 per acre is
Yeah.
3,112 square feet. That's what they have to have
Right, but
to
it
do
doesn't
14.
say that it has to be, each
So-
one has to have 31,000, just can't have more than 14 on any
right,
acre.
right, it says 14 on an
And each
acre.
one of these sites would have to have that, which means that you would have to have a Pacific site.
It doesn't say that,
Well, how are you gonna know if this guy's got 3,000 and this
because we
guy?
gave you net density calculations that indicate.
So in other words, they're gonna go anywhere. There's-
No, we have specifically planned them out for those sites, is what we're saying. She's saying that you could go anywhere, but we have actually taken it a step further and provided you actual tent location sites.
Let me get back to the page here. What page was it on?
I think it's one,
149.
Oh, hold on.
So you're gonna mark off each site, is what you're saying?
correct.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that's the appropriate way to do it, and then each site will have its own kind of stakes or whatever you want to put in the ground, or
As an engineer, do you think that those trails are really workable with the amount of loom that's on that? I mean, that's not even,
Again, tonight's the first time I've heard golf carts. I think you'd be better, to myself, I understand the accessibility is nice, but to me, it'd be a lot easier, eco-friendly, if people were just able to walk out there. If we're gonna put golf carts, to your point, over time, that's gonna get rutted up in the loam.
even walking with that many sites going, that would mud up in no time. I mean, come on.
I don't know about that, but
Well,
foot traffic's a lot different than vehicles.
Yeah.
foot traffic will eat that grass up in no time.
Depends what the turnover, yeah. But I mean, to his point, if he wants to do bark chips or bark mulch on foot traffic, that will obviously uphold. If we're gonna do golf carts, then again, we gotta get back into our future plan where all those trails
Yeah,
are
well,
gravel.
we really aren't concerned tonight about the future
I
plan.
understand. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
address
right,
the
right. I understand where
vehicle
you're coming
access.
from,
So
yeah.
in the future, we're addressing that vehicle access, but
Yeah.
this is the first stage.
I'm gonna try to take 30 seconds of everybody's time. If everybody can just make believe they never heard the word golf cart, I'd like to exclude the golf carts for two obvious reasons. I don't need to show parking for the golf carts, and it's not gonna muddy up the area. And I gotta be honest with you, as far as people saying that the thing that they're worried about is me doing whatever I want or in a lackluster way, it's insulting. I mean,
All right, we're not going to get personal, just
Okay,
please
it just-
move on.
okay.
And same for the board. Yes.
To that point, Freiburg, Maine, where there is a lot of river tourism, there are terrible problems with some of the campgrounds. Violence, assaults on the river as well. I mean, there's a lot of trouble. I have a
You have to
friend-
speak into the mic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a friend who was a Freiburg police officer for several years, and he can tell you some stories that'll curl your hair about what happens up there sometimes. And that's driving part of this concern. I mean, it sounds like you're a responsible person, you want to do the right thing, but these are legitimate questions about what's going to happen here. So we'd like to have some specifics too. I personally would like to know, for example, at each one of these tent sites, is there going to be like a maximum occupancy?
Yes,
And do you know what that will be?
yes, 2 adults and up to 2 children.
Okay, all right.
That's
And-
what
Yep.
makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense, because, I
Yes.
mean, the concern is that we have a
Huh?
situation where several hundred people at one time.
2 adults, 2 children.
Are you planning on serving alcohol?
No.
Okay.
Well, there's no restaurant or anything affiliated with this. It's a bring-in, I assume it's a bring-in what you want to eat, whether it's hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever. He's going to have the grills on the outside, so there's not going to be there's not going to be a bar there or
Okay.
any of that type of thing.
Okay. Musical performances?
No.
Okay,
I'm gonna say no.
okay.
I'm not trying to push you out, I just want to make sure I'm talking
I
into
want to make
this.
sure we're not hurting your feelings.
No, no, not at all.
No, all right, let's get on with what
The
your
one thing
concerns
I
are.
wanted to say about the alcohol is I already talked to my neighbor Roy, and I told him there will be signage for the campsites if it's able to be approved that there's absolutely no alcohol allowed at the beach.
Good luck with that.
Well, that's,
But, you know, he has a little legitimate concern. I'm from Freiburg originally, and I know what you're talking about. But that is this, I think, is going to be a different environment. Most of the problems up there come from college-age kids that camp along the river, have their booze and whatnot. It's a different environment here than what exists on the river up there. Yeah, yeah. Jason has a question.
So, Jason Webster, 16 Wheeler Lane. What I'm envisioning from what he says is a tent or yurts, and I've seen yurts. I think they're pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the people that, I'm going to call them maybe city slickers, people that want to take their children out in the wilderness, and you're going to have tent sites already set up. So these folks that have never been out of the city before, have no idea to set up a tent. They're coming in with their bags and their kids, and they're going to enjoy a wilderness experience. I don't see there being a party central. I feel from him that he will be the first one to call the state police and have them removed. I just, from what I've talking to him, I just see this more of as a, just, you know, glamping. I mean, it's something I would probably go experience myself personally, you know, just to get away, turn it off. I wouldn't want to leave the campsite. Maybe walk down to the river with the grandkids or something, but, you know, I think it's more of a retreat to get away and shut it off. And that's what I'm envisioning and hearing from you. So I just wanted to put that forward. I don't see where there would be a massive party central. They seem to be pretty spaced apart, you know.
Well, most of these kids that are causing the trouble up in Freiburg don't pay rent for where they are. They just come in and...
Right. I mean, I've been down the river before in canoes, and I
Same
understand
here.
the chaos that insists with that. And I just, with how this is put forth, and I think with the policing that seems to be putting forward, I don't see that becoming an
What
issue.
policing is it? We don't have any policing.
Well, I'm going to assume that he's going to have places or a house or an office to set up. People are going to rent these. I mean, it's not a free-for-all. It's not an honor system. Come in and drop a few dollars and good luck. I'm going to assume he's got it all planned out on, you know, you call this number, you can rent it for this weekend or rent it for a week.
I think if you're renting tents and you don't think there's going to be problems, some problems, I think it's a little
This
nightmare.
is-
I was
the-
actually talking about in the campgrounds, Joyce, incidentally, that those problems often do exist.
Well, there's problems on my street in Limington. You know, we can control a certain amount of stuff. We don't have a local sheriff or whatever. Let's be reasonable about what we can expect. Right. One of my questions was, are you going to have someone on site, a manager type person?
Yeah, there's a family living on the farm now.
Right,
and
but you said
they're-
you were going to take the farmhouse down.
Yeah, but the mobile home at the end now
Oh, I
is,
see, okay.
so he would be in very close proximity. So he will technically be the neighbor on the right. And I just want to say something. I have a neighbor on the left of me. His name is Roy. He's got a wife and some children and grandkids and stuff. Everything I'm doing in mind next door to him is in total respect to him and his family, because they are essentially going to be living with whatever.
You're talking about here in Limington?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the neighbor to the left of me.
Yes.
They're essentially going to be living with everything that I do, every decision I make. Nobody is more aware of that than I am. Every vehicle that's going to be approaching the property, whether it's a jacked up 4x4 with a shotgun in the back window, or it's somebody with a family Volvo who's got 2 kids in the back that can't wait to go down to the beach they seen on the internet. So I know who I'm targeting. I know what I'm targeting. I know what I'm trying to accomplish. And I know what kind of neighbor I'm trying to be to Roy and the whole community as a whole. That's all I can say.
Yes, go, back up to the mic. We have to remember, we're speaking to the community at large here.
Yeah.
What's that?
Up to the mic, we're speaking to the community at large.
Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the farmer, Bill Tiedemann, who owned that property, arranged to have a huge pile of municipal sludge delivered and I'm sure you're aware of that, obviously. It was across the street on that property. It was about 75 feet long and 15 feet tall. And,
You mean where the solar farm is?
yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, huge
Currently.
pile of municipal sludge.
Mhm.
Bill arranged to have, Bill was guaranteed by the Portland Water District that it was totally safe, as all these water districts guaranteed all these farmers all around the state, totally safe.
That was knowledge at the time, yeah.
And it was free, so his ears perked up, just like you read about, you know? And so he got a whole bunch of it. And he got it to spread it on the land, and to use as fertilizer. And his tenant farmers had it to spread it on the land, to use as fertilizer. And it was there for a long, long time.
An eyesore.
Yeah, and more. I mean, an environmental hazard. We all know now, no smell, just the environmental catastrophe of PFAS contamination. Potentially, I don't know. I'm not a soil scientist. It was right across
So
the
what's your
street from
point with this,
property.
please?
My point with this is that my concern is because it probably, since it was put there by a farmer to use as a fertilizer, spread repeatedly on the land. So the concern would be, maybe it would be a good idea to test a little bit, and it's possibly, oh, yes, it was, and, you know, the groundwater goes wherever it wants, doesn't know roads. And so I'm just, was a little bit concerned about, I wasn't aware of that, you weren't aware of it, because it was a huge pile.
Well,
It's not on his property.
right, he can't test over where the,
Well, he can test his own property, though, because that's where it was spread.
I'm not sure that was ever spread.
It was spread.
Was it spread?
repeatedly spread, yeah, right down.
It's
next
set
to
out
our
there
house
for a
is
long
down.
time. I know they spread it.
He stopped after a while because DEP asked him to no longer spread it. When it you know, the word got out that it was a danger.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that's-
all
That's
right.
what he told me. He and I were pretty good friends. so.
okay.
What I do know about the farm is, as I was purchasing it, I found out that someone had a hemp permit for the backfield and also had a permit to take water from the river.
Right, but they never followed through with that, did they?
Oh, I thought they did, because it was
What?
hanging in the
Remember
barns.
that? Did
Yeah,
they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They grew it in the barn.
Oh, he did,
But
in
the
the
hemp never
barn.
took off.
Yeah.
They planted it, but it never took
okay,
off.
okay. So all I thought I had to add was that people have grown crops on the property, but that's all I had to add to that.
Okay. All right, any more? Yes, Jason?
The question was asked about whether or not somebody was gonna be on site, if there was an on-site manager as an office. I was surprised to hear that the farm was gonna the building was gonna get turned down. So do you have is there gonna be somebody there all the time?
He bought the trailer to the, is it right of the?
There is a mobile home on the far right-hand side of the chick farm. I've already spoke with Luke and his wife Misty and asked them if that was something that they could transition into. It's much more habitable. The farmhouse it's very old. The foundation, there's just so many aspects of the farmhouse that it screams to be taken down. So the farmhouse is going to come down, and they will be on site, continue to stay on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so there will be somebody there full-time.
Okay.
And then, on the plan, I noticed that there's 2 bathhouses, but you were only talking about building 1?
Correct.
That's in the next phase? Correct. Okay.
What was correct? I didn't get the gist
On
of
the
it.
plan that I have this evening, it shows 2 bathhouses. There's one in the middle. That's for the future as well. That's not for
Right,
now.
it's marked,
Yeah.
future, yeah.
Yeah.
One here, this one here is.
Oh, the little one up there, okay, I got you.
So, just clarification.
So you're gonna take the barn down too, or you're gonna leave the barn?
I am taking the barn down.
Okay.
Yes.
But the other big barn you're gonna leave?
Yeah.
The big barn,
Where
I'm leaving.
they grow the marijuana.
I-
That's
I-
why they grew the marijuana.
Yes, I feel like the big barn is going to be a real attribute as a buffer to the campground. The larger barn, I've looked it over, and there's issues with it. And it would cost way too much to secure it, insure it, and everything like that. So the farmhouse and the barn And actually, Daryl, in back of the farmhouse and the barn, there's actually like a 3-stall hay building that's also got to come down because the roof is compromised on that. So those 3 structures that are shown on that will be coming down
So when do you anticipate doing that?
as soon as I hear approvals. You know, I want to get approvals so that I know that I'm okay to start investing in taking the structures down and.
So
like-
you want that in as part of the approval, you're gonna remove the structures?
No, I'm looking for, well, you're asking me a question, I have to answer it for you. I'm looking for I don't want to tear down a house and a barn and then find out I don't get my.
But what we're looking for is something that you say you're going to do, not that you might do, that you're going to do, and with a new set of plans. This is what I'm going to do. Not that I might do this or I might do that.
Okay,
And I
so
think the golf carts aren't a bad deal, but
I don't want to fool with them. I want to avoid the golf carts.
it would be easy for your man over here to take care of this if you had golf carts so he could get in through there.
What's that there?
Well, first we're against them and then we're for them, so we've got to stick to.
I was never against
you
them.
know.
I would like to just say this, because it is important. If I'm able to get the approvals through the town, the farmhouse is coming down, the barn that's attached to it's coming down, and the 3-bay hay storage barn in the back is also coming down.
So those 3 buildings are on the
Yes,
left
they're-
of that.
they're not
road cut.
safe. They're
Right.
truly.
But the big barn to the right of the
Stays-
road
stays in
the
place,
same.
yes.
So the big barn stays, that stays,
It's got an apartment
Yes.
in it anyway.
yeah.
My final question.
Do you still rent that apartment in that?
I'm sorry. Yes, there's a little cowboy apartment in that barn, and
Yeah.
it is rented right now. Yes.
Okay. You had a,
Will you be encouraging or allowing your guests to use the river recreationally?
Yes.
Okay. Will you have some sort of criteria for safety on that? The Saco River is not as user-friendly down here as it is up by Freiburg. It's deeper, it's faster, there aren't as many sandbars, and it does kind of create the potential a little bit for rescue or even recovery, because the river does take people pretty much every year. So thought, get your thoughts on that.
I spent a couple hours, a couple different times this year, down on the beach, walking into the river. I found it to be very shallow and very user-friendly. It was one of my concerns. If someone goes down to the river and they have their child with them, I'm hoping that they plan on sitting on the beautiful golden sand down there and walking in and dipping their feet and possibly even sitting on the bottom. It was extremely calm. It was extremely user-friendly. And I've got filmed on my phone. I just enjoyed myself. It was very enjoyable. I don't know, that 2,600 feet is all I can speak to. I can't say that down around the bend is the same. All I can say is the 2,600 feet that I experienced was pristine. I kept using the word pristine in my film that I made. I made a few of them. It's gorgeous. It's quiet. It's calm. It's
That was recently, right?
yeah.
It changes when the water comes up,
Yeah.
but it is safe this time of year, no question about it.
I was just actually talking to someone today, and I said, if someone comes to the campsite, if I get my approvals and they're planning on using the beach, but the water is dictating that they're not able to get access, I would have arrangements with other places within 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a half an hour, that if they feel like part of their fee was going to include the access to the river, that I would have something worked out with the neighboring bodies of water that their admission to there would be free. That
well,
was
they
some-
have the Momadeo
that
campsite.
I never say it because I know I'm not going to say it right, but that was one.
It's really Momadeo, so I said it incorrectly first.
Sebago Lake, and the person looked at me and said, "Wow, that's a great idea." So if part of your experience that you think you're coming to enjoy is not accessible, you should be able to go enjoy yourself somewhere within reason and be able to go in with no fee.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
What times of year? When were you going to start? Like April through August? I mean, April through
I think there's
October, or?
I think there's a standard date to open and close, and I believe that is somewheres around April to October. Yeah, I think you just said it right on the money.
April to October, he said.
April to October, yeah. And if for some reason the town gets a hold of me and says, hey, we looked into this, what we think might work a little bit better, I'm totally,
Well, okay.
What I'm saying is this, is if you have an ordinance in the town that I'm not aware of, and it
No,
comes.
we don't.
Okay, and it comes to somebody's attention,
Yeah.
I'm gonna adhere to
Yeah.
it, of course.
Okay. Pete, did you have any questions?
I think I had several questions.
Sure.
Ray, I don't know if I'm going to insult you or not, but you're trying to get a permit, a conditional use permit for 10 tents,
No. 27, I think it is.
27 tents.
All of these, yeah. Do they come to 27, Jim? Do you know the count is 27 tents?
Okay, let's go back. What is, how many in your first phase?
Excuse
The
me?
whole thing, this whole thing is his first phase, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
20
his first phase is to build what you see here. 27 platforms with either yurts or tents on them.
Okay, and then the rest of it, all these mini homes, is it?
No, that's nothing to do with tonight.
No, okay, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we
Okay,
shouldn't even be
this is
thinking
what
about
seems to be
that.
confusing the whole issue. And when you come back, if you have just dealing with the tents and what you're gonna need to support that tentage and eliminate the rest of the noise. So when we're just looking at this tent, so we don't have to go through all this again.
Oh, yeah, let me,
Okay, my next question was, you're down here with the beach, I see a berm down here. Is that a berm, or is that just a pile of alders at the water's edge, at the beach edge? And are you gonna remove that?
the green,
I won't be removing any.
Or are you gonna cut paths through it?
I won't be, there's already paths.
Okay, because this doesn't show any paths through it, passageways, to the
Okay.
sand.
Okay, both Jim and I walked it. It's very accessible. There's several little pockets that you walk
Probably the
through.
stuff
A little
is
trail.
tall
You're,
and-
you're right. The picture, the photos that you guys have been supplied doesn't exactly show the little cut-ins where people have, basically broke a little path in, but they're there.
They're there,
It's very navigable, Pete.
okay.
It's very user-friendly.
Okay, and that, because, I mean, looking at that, if people came in with a kayak or a canoe, they can,
Very, very easy.
okay,
Very easy. I'd like to go back. Could I jump back to the first question?
go back to the first question.
Okay.
if the first question is about tiny homes,
No,
we are
no.
not
No,
talking
no,
about tiny homes
it's a bad
tonight.
word. I'm not even, I haven't said it once.
Yeah, no, I'm referring to
The-
anybody that's thinking
Everything,
it.
everything on that diagram, the noise, as you put it, is representative of a tent site campground. The trails, the parking, the tents, everything is indicative of, or representative of, a tent site campground. All that noise that's on, and I'm only saying noise because I know what you mean.
Right,
Every characteristic of this plan right now represents a tent site campground, period. That's it.
Okay.
that's all I had.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just to address. Well, wait a minute, Pete, I'm sorry. Pete, you have more questions?
No, he said,
I just want to jump back to the first one and make sure I didn't forget.
Okay,
Okay.
yep, I just, like you're saying, because we've been going around this whole thing, and we're only dealing with the tonnage.
And no, you did not insult me at all. Everything that you see on that diagram, everything that you see on that plan is representative of a tent site canvas material campground.
So when you come back, you're just gonna have tent, you won't
Not even
have,
going to talk.
okay, okay,
I'm going to keep it simple, Pete.
thank you.
you had another question?
Just go back to the beach for a minute.
I insulted.
It is really super nice down there, there's no doubt about that. And it's a nice, you can wade out a long ways.
You can
But
walk right across the
as Darrell pointed out, it can change very, very quickly.
I'm sure.
So do you plan on like renting canoes or having canoes available or kayaks available for your guests?
If people want to bring something in, that's up to them.
Okay, okay. I'm just begging you to really take it very, very seriously because the river can be extremely dangerous. And so I know it's nice that the beach is great and everything, but right below there is Parker's Rips. Right above there, there's rapids. So if you could maybe have some way to inform your guests to use extreme caution, because it's warranted, and take whatever safety precautions, and maybe save a life or two.
Maybe there's a brochure or a pamphlet each guest gets upon arrival that can address details like that or something.
Okay.
I mean, you know, you're the one who's running it, not me, but,
Well, I will say this. Any potential dangers would be a catastrophe for me. So Ross has planted in me this fear of God that this river could just be taking kids and whole families. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest time and gain knowledge and let people know if you venture off from this property, be aware XYZ, because, and that was made to be a little bit lighthearted, but it's serious. I'm going to take it serious, and I'm going to make sure that anybody that comes to this site that could lead them to venture off into some associated area that they're not being informed about, that would probably be a monumental mistake on my part. And so I'm heeding that advice.
Jim?
So, but you actually plan on making part of the chick farm is available to these tenants, right?
No.
You're gonna make the beach.
That's how he's getting.
Well, no, I mean, he's not
Yes.
going to, I thought you meant he's going to put tents on it.
That's not what I said.
Oh, he's going to make it
No.
available.
Yep,
Okay.
as far as, yes, Daryl, as far as the beach
So that would,
frontage.
you'd have to show that on the plot plan.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not sure if that would bring the Saco River corridor into it too.
well, you know, do we
Not that I
have
care
to,
about 'em, but-
if the access is already there and it's
It
cut
is.
through the,
It is.
you know.
It is. I've walked it. I've ridden a four-wheeler. It's very accessible. You go down the trail and you head to the right. You're going to keep looking over the cliff, and you're going to keep looking over the cliff, and then all of a sudden you're at the water's edge, and that's what's friendly.
So both of these pieces of land are now in your name? They're not in two different names?
The original Teeterman farm was bought in my daughter Rachel's name, and today I closed on the piece in the middle with the 2,600 feet of beach frontage, and that's in my name, but it's not going to be recorded for a couple weeks because the papers were just signed today. Okay? So
it's-
yes, me
it's
and my
two
daughter.
separate owners.
There's two separate owners, same family. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim?
So I was just gonna make a recommendation. I've heard a lot about concerns of safety and, impacts of the campground. I think the important thing that we'll work with Ray on is, getting some signs up. One, explaining what the campground rules are, so when people come in, they can see those posted, and we probably would want to post them at the bathhouse or common septic house as well. And then I think it would be wise to put something down at the beach, explaining, what Ray rules are about using the beach and the river, so that people are aware that, conditions can change. They don't have to be here, with that river, something could be going on in North Conway with a heavy thunderstorm or something, and a few hours later, you've got a flood down here in Limington, so.
It's dam controlled as well, so.
Yeah, it is, but still, things happen quick.
They mess with that
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. So I just think it's wise just to put some precautionary signs up to advise his guests of what could happen.
I just want to add a further comment about that. I'm going to try to get people to understand that I own 1,200 feet of river frontage on the Teeterman farm and I own 2,600 feet of beach frontage on the Chick farm. The campers are expected to stay within those confines. Should they be warned about anything near there? Absolutely. But I'm also going to stress that these are the property lines. There's a sign on the left-hand side, there's a sign on the right-hand side, and you're supposed to stay in between and not venture off onto someone else's property that I do not own. And the brochure is mandatory, both explaining where certain things are in respect to the campgrounds, whether it be rapids, whether it be a diner, whether it be the private airport, the four-wheeling trails, the snowmobile trails. I've got all this, it's a lot, but it's gonna be supplied to every camper that comes in. It's gonna be on the website.
So you're gonna limit to how much frontage they can use down there, because obviously
Yes,
your
thank you.
frontage isn't that good anyway.
No, thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying, Daryl, is they are gonna be limited to the 3,800 feet. And let's face it, the 1,200 feet on the Teeterman
So
farm.
you're gonna let them use all of it? Because yours isn't that good anyway. It's the chick farm, it's really good.
I understand that. But let's say hypothetically, it's fishing season. Would it be reasonable to think that somebody might want to venture down the 1,200 feet where the steep grade is and stand there and waders and fish? Yeah. Is somebody thinking that they're going to stand in waders and fish where people are swimming? No. So they will have access to the 3,800 feet, and there will be a boundary line near where Roy's dock is. I've already discussed this with him, that people will understand not to venture off and be sitting or hanging out. I've discussed all these things as a neighbor should with an adjoining neighbor. There is going to be a very clear post, and I have to make sure that this is okay with the Saco River, but there's going to be a boundary line very clearly marked both on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the property that I just closed on today. As in, this is where you need to stay. This is where we own. Okay, that should have been mentioned. I should have mentioned that earlier, and I think maybe some of this could have been avoided.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. My next question is to the board. Are you comfortable enough to vote on this? Is it all right to call this a concept plan? It's not a plot plan.
It's in between. It's a tweener plan, because, like I said, we're working on a bigger master plan. But, yeah, this is I would consider this a concept plan at this point.
Because we normally don't vote on
So
concept.
you gotta have a plot plan.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned on the road it was gonna be gravel. There is a section here that says you have to use some sort of a asphalt.
And I think we had a conversation maybe about a year ago, so that may be a waiver request that we ask. And I think we did ask for that a year ago.
I can't
but
remember a year
We'd have to
back.
put that in writing, obviously, as a
okay.
formal waiver for the board to vote on.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing here is that there needs to be a little more delineation
Yep.
as far as and it might even mean that you have to change the contour of where you put the, your tents to meet that 14 per acre. And if I'm
Plus what they're gonna
misinterpreting
do in the
what
past.
yeah, if I'm misinterpreting what the board wishes, I think they want a clearer delineation of the acres and how many tents are
Well,
gonna be
there's,
in the
in
acres.
that, well, sorry, you don't have it, but in that peach-colored plan right there, that I have right here,
Yeah,
that's almost 8 acres right there.
okay,
So,
It's almost what?
8 acres.
Yep.
8 acres.
8 acres.
So,
So,
if you,
yeah,
so just do the math. If you 8 times 14,
Yeah.
you're way beyond 27.
yeah. So what is the problem? What difference would you expect to see? I'm talking to the board now. If he were to just graph this off in acres, is that what you're looking for? I mean, it's a campground. The whole thing is a campground. It's not individual acreage being,
You're renting individual lots.
no, you're not renting individual lots. You're
Then why are they broken into 3,000 square feet?
Because
Because that's what
that's
the ordinance
what,
calls for.
what the ordinance calls.
Right.
But you're renting a campsite. You're not renting like I can't even think of where you'd go to rent a camp right now, which has a specific lot to it. To me, this is a campground, one big campground lot comprised of 8 acres. And he has situated the tents, et cetera, within that. And he has met the requirements, or they're not even up to the requirements, what the ordinance says, to the number that he can have. So,
So if you look on that plan, we did, because we're looking at some state requirements for, again, I don't want to say that word, but in the future, we're looking at some spacing there. So each one of those sites has kind of an oval around it.
yeah,
We can define what that area is and put that on the plan, because each one of those does have that oval. And it may be 3,000, it may be 4,000, but it's just based on a dimension from the state requirement. So we can put
well, I would
that
think
on.
the state would want that.
They will when we get to
Yeah.
that.
Well, no, I'm talking about when you have to get your state, meet your state requirements for this.
I don't know for tent sites necessarily, but for RVs or any other kind of normal campsites, you would require it. Tent sites are a little bit looser, is the way I could word it.
Not in our zoning. It mentions them both together.
Well, he's not doing RVs here. He's doing tents right now.
So I would, I would recommend by ourselves that we just come back, clean this up a little bit more, maybe give you a little more detail as to the program, maybe some of the signage, things like that. And
I
give
think
you-
that would make members of the board a
You
little
know
more
exactly
comfortable.
what you're gonna do, no hypothetical
I
stuff.
think we need a
This is what I'm
plot
gonna do, this is what we're
Well,
asking.
that is what we're gonna do right there, but we can define it a little better for you
Yeah.
in words and.
Well, that's
more
what
of
you're
a-
gonna do now, but a minute ago, you were gonna do golf carts. So that's what I'm saying, let's come back in with a
Yeah,
plan.
with exactly
This is what we're gonna do.
Yep,
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay, so, and with that in mind, our next meeting will be not the first Monday in November, because the first Tuesday is voting.
Right.
And this place is uninhabitable except for
Every
voting
town
booths.
is, I understand.
And so we would not be meeting on the first Monday in November. We would be meeting on the third Monday, which I think is something like the 21st, like what today is. I don't have a calendar.
18th,
It's the 18th?
Yeah, that's perfect,
Whatever.
because it gives us a little time to clean this up.
Yeah.
the third
Yeah.
Monday.
We'll come back in with a plan for you to sign.
November 18th.
Well, you'd come back in with a plan that the board
Hopefully you can
would
sign
vote
first.
on, and if we vote, it would, yeah, we would.
I'm coming in with
yeah.
a plan that has a lot more
Okay.
details and layouts and things
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Everybody comfortable
And
with
when you
that?
will state they're gonna be able to use all this furniture,
I think that's up to Ray, but I don't see why not, why we can't. put
well, you're gonna
something-
let them use it, aren't you?
They just have access rights to the beach. That's all they're getting on that other property, is access rights to the beach.
Well, you can
So
show
however
that.
they can get there
Yeah,
is,
Right, they'll have an
Free for
easement to
all.
cross that property,
Right.
that's all.
Maybe delineate a pathway down or
Footpath or
something like that.
right, yeah.
Yes.
I think it'd be helpful, when you come back, that it's a plot plan that shows both parcels, so we know where the beach is and where all this is in relation to that.
Yeah,
I
but
think-
see, well, yeah, that's right, because you didn't own, yeah, you didn't own that,
Right.
when you made
Till
this
today.
plan, he didn't own this piece here, Chick
That would be
property.
down.
What we could do.
It's right here,
if-
right
if
here.
it helps the
It's
board,
Chick's right here.
what we
What?
could do is we could take an aerial photograph and we can overlay those properties on that. So you can see the beach outline, and you can see everything from the aerial view with the outline.
You
of the
pretty
two
much show
properties.
that in the picture you have there.
Well, it's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
the satellite imagery is a lot clearer and gives you a better definition of both properties
Mm-hmm.
than the drone can do.
Okay. Everybody comfortable?
Getting there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming, we appreciate it. It sounds like
So are we looking at November 18th?
whatever the third Monday of November
Third
is,
Monday.
at 7 o'clock.
And when are we voting on?
Nothing tonight. We will vote on the 18th when they come back with another plan. It's more clear.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, now we're going back to our regular meeting. So if you guys, if you're going to have conversations, you need to take it out in the hallway. Ladies,
Jason, you're a word yourself.
ladies, we have to go back to our regular meeting, so if you, thank you. Let's do the minutes.
Did everybody sign?
Yeah, did you all sign in over here?
I don't think I made any friends tonight. I don't think I made any friends tonight. I don't think I made any friends tonight.
I wouldn't worry about it. All right, we're going to the minutes of October 7th. I only found, okay, let's stick to the minutes, everybody. I only found one correction.
I had one that's been fixed.
I found two, I guess. Under the conditional use permit, the second paragraph,
On page 1?
yeah.
Okay.
The first line, Ray Marshall said he has finalized his thoughts to develop a campground for tents and, yeah, okay, that's right, okay. It's the second line up from the bottom. You've got a word delineation in there.
Oh, I took that out. I
Oh,
found
okay,
it
fine.
this morning.
Okay, that's the only correction
Yeah,
I
that's
had.
the only
Are there
one I
any
had.
other corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 7th?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Right,
Okay, Paula?
Bob, and you can toss up, I saw a hand and a voice.
Or Pete can have it if you want.
I'm older, I'll take it.
All right, she wasn't there, so she
Oh, I
can't.
can't vote, never
she can't,
mind.
so-
I don't count.
And Pete wasn't there, so Darrell,
Pete
would you
wasn't.
second? Darrell, would you second the
I always
motion
got 20
to
bucks.
accept the minutes?
Feel useless.
Did I?
No, would you? Would you? You're the one
We
who
have
can
a
do it.
second.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Darrell seconded it. All in favor? The three of us. Okay, fine, done.
We're useless.
A couple of other items I have. I think I forwarded to all of you an email from Jenna about, we have to take this Freedom of Information Act training thing. It's a self-training. You go online, you can click on that thing, and evidently this is something Bruce Rosette wanted everybody to do.
You said you emailed it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did forwarded it to everybody.
You probably did.
No?
It's in your, isn't it in your packages?
I don't know, I don't know.
No.
Oh,
Freedom of
did you
access,
all get
yeah,
an
right here.
email on it?
Right here.
Yeah, and I sent,
I just didn't
I
know.
will re-forward it to everybody if you want me to.
I don't know what you're here, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I'll forward again.
And what is it pertaining to?
It's the Freedom of Information Act, and there's a link to a website, and you take it yourself, and then you just, I guess at the end, it tells you whether you passed or failed, and they need a copy of it in the office. I mean,
It's a sort of quiz type thing that we have to have knowledge of?
I really don't know.
If you figure you're gonna go off.
okay, all right. The other thing is that, guys, together, please. Thursday night, I go, can we talk about the budget here for a minute? Thursday night, I have to go before the planning board, the finance committee about the budget. And I forgot to bring the one that I had edited. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll mail it to you. I'll email it to you.
You've changed some numbers, haven't you?
Yeah, I did. That's what I wanted to bring tonight. In going over these numbers, I could have sworn I sent it to everybody some time back.
I think.
Well, I'll do it all over again. I'll do it again. I have it online. All right, I'll just send it to everybody. Just so you know that our budget probably will end up being a little bit higher than it was last year. We definitely, they've got to, whereas last year they didn't take what we recommended for Donna's salary as an example, and now we're 2,000 plus minus in that line item. They have to take into consideration that the planning board is busier, Donna's hours are putting in more hours, and they can't keep cutting that back, even though they might like to. Anybody else have any other stuff that they want to talk about? No. Okay. And you all do have, and please save a copy. I emailed it to you, and Donna handed it out in your packet tonight from the Legal Services Department about this whole campground subdivision thing. So when he comes back in, from what I read of it, we'll have two separate issues to talk about. When he comes back with the tiny homes, it's going to be a different situation than this. But I urge you all to read this and keep it in mind. Please read it before we get together on the 21st, so we're all pretty much on the same page.
The 18th?
18th, yep.
Okay.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
I don't
here.
have a watch. Can somebody tell me what
It
time
is
it is?
8:25.
8:25.
Victoria made a motion to adjourn. Pete seconded it. All in favor? Thank you, everyone.